All right. Welcome back, everybody. This part of the lecture is cursed. This is the third time I've started. Let's hope I can get it going here. Okay. I really have one last topic to talk about here, and that's mobile web. This is certainly something I've talked about here and there in the course. It's something that I would suspect you are, aware is a thing. Something like half of the web usage is mobile at this point in history. I don't think I have to convince you that it's important. I'm not really sure what stat counter is counting in this case. It's going to depend very much on the website, right? If you have a great mobile website, probably more mobile users are going to be using it. If you have a less awesome one, let's just assume that if something's going to go wrong, it's probably going to go wrong here. I will point out, in the developer tools, this little icon in Firefox, there's an analogous one, I believe, in Chrome. Basically gives you a phone-sized approximation display of a page. This is not really, there's no mobile style sheet here. What if I'm, yep, I guess not. Good job, GoSFU. I can count on you. So on the main SFU website, I guess that's fine. This is a usable site by the look of things in mobile. I'm not convinced this is the most important things to show a user on a mobile website. There's a relevant XKCD. Yep. I think we have. I've dragged myself off topic already. Again, I've started this 3 times now, but I'm going to drag myself off topic. This is the only thing that I cared about. Yeah, it's SFU. Great. None of the things I care about are there. Maybe you care about Wellness Day and dog therapy, but anyway. So I guess the other way this is going to vary is by location. I think what's going on here is, in Canada, more people can afford computers and will have a laptop than perhaps elsewhere in the world, but also our mobile data is really expensive. So we're kind of pressured away from using phones while not connected to Wi-Fi because it's expensive compared to the rest of the world. So this is going to skew in different amounts for, again, sites and geography and all kinds of different reasons. Young and old visitors, all of these things. So I guess the thing, again, I don't have to convince you of is you need to have your website work okay on a phone. Probably not something that you're going to say citation needed for. This is a thing that I certainly always think of first, and I think most people do, that, yeah, the screen is a different size, and it's what that, okay, wait, maybe I should, it's what this thing does, right? It fundamentally, it simulates the smaller screen at least. There's different interaction. So using a mouse and a keyboard is very different than using a touch device. And okay, anyway, so this hover interaction where I can move my mouse cursor over this, if I'm on my phone, my phone doesn't know that my finger is near the thing and hovering over top of it. I either tap it or I don't tap it. And I guess the other thing, right? Click versus tap are probably the appropriate verbs. All of these things change. I don't know. So this, I think I tried to, yeah. So you can click, or tap, right? If you click or tap this menu bar thing, you come to a page that has the same menu. That's pretty reasonable, I think. Maybe users have different expectations in different scenarios of what information they're interested in. One thing that actually I should put on this list is connection speed, right? So the speed at which I download data here, sitting at my computer in my house with TELUS Wi-Fi, or at TELUS Fiber is going to be different than if I'm on on the bus, because it's just a different data connection. All of that's going to matter. I need my site to work in all of those scenarios. In the same way, again, I think we come back to the like progressive enhancement sort of thing of like, I need my website to be flexible enough to work in whatever scenario it finds itself for whatever user, whatever web browser. This is a big category we should remember. So this, like what is it? There's a like, is it m.en.wikipedia.org or the other way, whatever. But this m. site, I think is increasingly rare to see, but it's still out there. We'll see it once in a while. It is very flexible, right? So in this case, you have like a completely separate domain. You can serve completely different content to people on a mobile device. Do you want to do that? It's not clear to me you want to do that, but you certainly don't want to do that, right? So actually having two completely different websites, maybe if you have dynamic content, it's okay. And this is one where like, what is it? Nope. Nope. Oh, actually it wasn't. I'm sad face, Google. Whatever. You know what Wikipedia looks like. So in that case, they're generating content dynamically. They're fundamentally just filling in a slightly different template with the same page. Not such a big deal. You have a different function or template or whatever that the same data goes into. Not a huge deal. For static content, it maybe is a huge deal. You just have a whole separate website. Even so, if I'm perfectly honest, I don't want to maintain a separate code path for mobile users. I would like my site to just work for everybody, and I can in the modern world, so why would I? The other thing that has to happen to make this work is you have to get users to the correct site. You have to get them to www. or m. As the case may be. Okay, so you have to do browser detection, which is just doomed to failure. But maybe you can find some browser detection library that's reasonably up to date and kind of well validated. So funny, I've tried this in class when in person with people. Is a 12-inch tablet like, do you want the mobile site, right? So again, the m.en.wikipedia, do you want the mobile site on a tablet or not? And it's a really split question when I ask people, probably because people are imagining different tablets, right? Like if you have like a 7-inch tablet versus a 12-inch tablet or whatever. And of course, the screen's not small, but the interaction is still a touch interaction, and maybe your data speed is coming over like if you have a SIM card in your tablet, maybe it's coming over a mobile connection. So in some ways, yeah, like in some ways this is a mobile browser, and in some ways it's very much not. It's got a screen size much more like a computer. But now I'm now deciding for my users which version of the site they're going to go to. That's annoying. Certainly don't. And I think we've all probably been to sites like this where you get redirected incorrectly. You get so instead of just the m. you get sent back to the front page of the website or whatever. I don't think users, I mean, I know I don't like this interaction. I don't think most people do. I think your website should just work. And again, we can do it technically easier, easier to configure. Probably this is a loss to have the m. site in the modern world, because we have responsive design, which again, I talked about earlier in the semester when I talked about CSS, but this is just, okay, I've got a page, right? I've got HTML, I've got my front-end framework, whatever it is. I've got a website that I've got data that somehow turns into HTML. I don't care how it gets turned into HTML. I care that I have a style sheet for it. And this is, again, I did this earlier in the semester too. This is probably should be part of your base HTML template. It's basically you're communicating to the browser. I know that screens come in different sizes. Let me do this. And you don't get the thing that that GoSFU was doing there, which is this like, so here, what I think must be happening, right? The browser has looked at this and said, oh, I don't see anything on this website that indicates it's a mobile friendly site. Nope. So I guess I will pretend it's like 2005 and I'll just scale this as if we have a kind of old computer sized screen and hope it renders properly and do our best. That's how we get here. That's not great. This is scaled appropriate to the device, and it's because of that tag. So you do that, and then of course, because you've now promised the browser that you know what you're doing on different screen sizes, you better actually take that into account. And it's fairly easy, right? So a media query like this, just, 480 seems to be the like portrait orientation phone screen width kind of range, or a good cutoff for it. So like in the example earlier in the semester, I did that. I actually just noticed here, I swear I had actually forgotten I did this. I looked at this before lecture and I said, okay, well, I'll do this and I'll point out, this table is kind of big and ugly. So this 5-column table with this semester schedule isn't going to look great on a phone. I swear I had completely forgotten. I have a style sheet switch here that looks like it's at 640 pixels. This deliverables and lecture date column disappear below that size because I thought, well, that's probably the most important information. And if you get too small, things get crowded. But on normal phone size screens, this works okay. I suspect if I look enough here, I'm going to have like lines of code, especially that break the width. Yeah, like, I have sized all of my code examples are, the line lengths are enough to fit on a slide at a larger font size. So mostly they fit okay, but okay. So that's not an awesome mobile experience, but I think I'm willing to live with that. You can at least scroll around and see it if you need to. Okay. B-. But not that hard. And I suspect if I go hunting in that style sheet, I'll find basically this, and it's something like TD, like a certain table cells just get display none or something when they're at a small enough size on this page. And that's enough. It was enough to make things kind of look good enough and move on, and you can deal with a site of mobile. And I think if you do, if you have a reasonably nice, and especially if you have a reasonably simple style sheet, as I do, the changes you have to make for mobile are pretty minor. I should be careful here. The changes you have to make for small screens is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about CSS. What I'm not, like, I haven't been talking about here, like network speed. So what if this page was on a 3G device? So this is like throttling the network. Okay, it shouldn't be that slow to just download the initial page, should it? Okay. There is, like, I will admit here, I do have a fair amount of like fonts and style sheets and JavaScript and stuff. Like, there is a lot of dependencies here in the head of the page. That's what's making that initial load slow. As I click around and the cache kicks in, again, I have all of those style sheets and JavaScript and fonts in the cache. That sped up quite a lot after the initial page load. So that's, I guess, the trade-off I'm making there. I probably could have trimmed down a little bit on the stuff that's in here. Do I really need the font? I could probably accept your browser's default font just fine, but I didn't. So you don't get to change your content for different sites. Almost always that's going to be okay, I think. Again, like users, I think it's fair to say, don't want different content on a phone in the world as it is right now. They expect the same information because I don't think people see it as a different way to interact with the information, just a different screen to interact with it with. I don't know, like, I mean, I said mobile first versus desktop first there a while ago. I don't know which one's right. Like, I think almost all of us tend to develop desktop first because we're developing on a desktop computer, and then mobile comes second. I don't have any strong, like, I think mobile eventually. You definitely should be thinking about the mobile appearance and interactions for your page. I don't much have an opinion whether you do that first or second. There are a bunch of other little hacks there for, again, like, especially if we're thinking about bandwidth as a limit for a mobile device. The picture element, like, you know, if you have a big image, and I talked about images a while ago, they do tend to be a lot of the bytes on a page. So like the game that's being played here is I have a fallback. So again, this is that progressive enhancement kind of thing. Like if you have an older browser that doesn't know about pictures and sources, it will see image and think, oh, I know what images are, and fall back to this one. But you can give these other things that are like, well, if you have at least 800 pixels to display it, display this one. Or you can say things like here, if it's a very high resolution screen, which is what's going on there, send the higher resolution thing because it's a retina display, and that's not unique to mobile, depending on your laptop or whatever else. This pixel density might be a sort of factor in which image gets chosen there. So is that worth it? I don't know. It depends how many images you have in your website and how heavy they are to download, and whether or not you care about them looking just that little bit better on a very high resolution display. I'm not sure what the right answer is there, but it's a tool that's there that, again, I think a lot of developers don't think about. Right, like I said, I don't think users want different content on different screens. I think, again, the separate mobile website kind of makes that assumption that you want to actually generate different HTML for a different size screen. I think that's a mistake, probably. Is there something? I thought there was some other bit of weirdness in one of these examples that I wanted to talk about, but I think I'm going to let it go. Let's okay. But while we're talking about mobile, let's talk about apps. I'll admit, like, I'm not an app developer. I am much more happy as a web developer. So, okay, I'm skewed on this one. Like, I definitely have a bias on this topic. But, okay, if I want my device to be usable on a phone, I think I have two options, right? I have mobile webs, like make a website that's nicely usable on a phone, or create an app and have the app be downloaded by people onto their phone. Apps certainly seems to be the thing that is most commonly wanted. Like people with apps, like something, you know, using Reddit, or I suspect Instagram, or I suspect a lot of these things from a mobile website, there's very much a push of like, don't you want to use our app? Wouldn't using the app be better? Why don't you use our app? For some reason, this is considered a better, it's the companies that create these things certainly consider the app to be better. And I'm not 100% sure why. It could be a question of tracking or something. One of the things can just be like, you can charge a few dollars for your app. People can, like, you're discoverable in the app store. That can be a good reason to have a mobile app. There are things that are well, I shouldn't say that. They're blocked from the web. Web browsers don't let JavaScript code read and write files, or access the GPS without a little pop-up that says, are you sure, or find your contact list. Those things are accessible to other apps, but not to mobile websites. Typically it's going to be faster. Like if you have some CPU intensive thing that's going on, like a game, probably faster in an app, compiled down to Java bytecode or whatever, than it would be running in JavaScript. That might be less true for WebAssembly. An app like I very much want, I don't know, Spotify to be an app, not a mobile website, because, well, someday I might get to be on a plane again, and that's nice. Or I guess not even. I don't have to get on a plane. Coming down on the bus between like the Residence bus stop and like Burnaby Mountain Park, like where you don't get, at least I don't get cell reception on whatever my provider is. That'll happen. On the other hand, why don't I want to write an app? Well, then I have to write an app. Okay, like you're probably not going to write an app for BlackBerry or Windows Phone or the Fire Phone or whatever, but you need at least two. But you also need a website. So now you have at least 3 places that you're going to have to put your content together and keep up to date and everything else. That's not great. There's definitely things where I'm just not going to install your app. Like I only have so much space on my phone. I'm not going to install the app for that. It's just not going to happen. Depends on the site. Again, depends on who your users are, etc. I know this isn't completely true, but linking doesn't work, at least not the way it usually does in an app, right? I don't have a URL for some piece of content in the Instagram app. There is a URL for that content, and I can share, like the app will produce that URL and allow me to share it. And then when I click on that, something in Android intercepts that URL and says, oh, that actually goes over to the Instagram app, or it can go to a website. But again, there's just more mechanics there to making something shareable. It can be done, but it's more work. I think a lot of apps could have been decent mobile websites. And some of this is, I think, baby boomer CEOs that think apps are a thing they need. Some of it is, again, like a little of that sense of control of having an app where you're much more in control of the user experience than in a mobile web browser kind of environment. I think a lot of apps I have on my phone, I don't know, what apps do I have on my phone? I have an Airbnb app. I have an Amazon app. Do I need those? Like, why doesn't Airbnb just have a good mobile website and I can use it that way? I have the BC Services card app. I still don't know why, but they seem to think it's more secure, so great, I'll play along. I think a good mobile website, maybe with 2-factor authentication, would have been just as good. So if I am going to have an app, maybe we can like kind of attack this problem of I need at least a couple apps and I still need a website. Okay, well, this is, I guess, another argument in favor of the front-end frameworks. What I'm going to have in my backend is an API. Okay, so I have one backend and now I have 3 front ends. I have the like Vue.js web front end and the Android and the iOS front end. Or maybe I can knock that down to sort of a little bit like a single code base, I guess, where I have something like these tools that are basically, let me use HTML and JavaScript and CSS to create something that looks like a native app, and sort of behaves like a native app. Maybe that's close enough. Just like as like to have a website that basically looks like an app, maybe that would be okay. Or maybe something like Cordova, React Native, that are you have web content, it gets wrapped up into an app. So again, maybe you can keep one code base that has a backend API and some idea of how things get rendered, and use it, basically compile it into an app for iOS, compile it into an app for Android, or deliver it as a React front end to the user in a web browser. That'd be nice. You're gonna lose performance there relative to a truly native app that's written in whatever language you write apps in. Apple has the new one, Swift. If you write in Swift and compile to whatever the bytecode is that they produce versus delivering JavaScript code and running it in this wrapper, there's going to be a bit of a performance difference. Again, if you have a game, something real time happening, maybe that matters, but for most content, probably not. Right. I think we've seen apps that don't quite feel quite right, and maybe this, in some cases at least, is why. They're just not built like apps, so they don't feel like apps. You have to use a tool right, obviously. All right. So I think that's what I want to say about mobile web. I think that's what I want to say in the course. So we won't have any lecture next week. I think there's actually one lecture after that, but nobody was going to pay attention to that lecture anyway. That's like the day before exams start. So I think I'm going to stop there. Thanks everybody. Hopefully you've enjoyed the course. This might be the last lecture I record for a little while because of just the way things happen. I'm not teaching next semester, so I don't know. Maybe this is the last YouTube lecture I deliver. That will be sad. I kind of like this. So I guess don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe sign up for generic VPN provider. They're the exact same as every other VPN provider. What else do YouTubers say? Check out my Instagram. I don't know why, but they do that. So maybe this ends my career as a YouTuber, but whatever. You don't care about that. Finish your project off. Have some fun with that. Try to learn something as you're doing it. Other details, I guess I'll do by email. See you, everybody.